Everyone, this is Carl. Sorry for the crazy start, but yeah, I wanted to discuss something I've been thinking about. Excuse me, for a little over a week, and as the title suggests, what video games deserve to be their own TV series? And I think the Castlevania series kind of did the job very well. It's like you can easily uh use their blueprint in a way to get this kind of things going. Now, I'm not talking about games that have had their day in the sun as far as like TV shows like Tekken and Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, who were originally games, but then eventually got their own little TV series back in the 90s or through progression over the decades with like maybe short anime movies. But there's certain things that I think, by today's standards, we have the technology as proven once again by Castlevania that we have the technology to make substantial not movies, but like maybe not long running TV series, but at least like Castlevania is did 4 seasons. I think it's 4 seasons, and you can easily do 3 or 4 seasons on like some games that I'm about to suggest, or even longer, depending on how good it might turn out. This is just my opinion, of course. But if you're watching this live, or if you're watching this on YouTube in the future, leave a comment below. Let me know what games that you might think definitely deserves like a TV series, the way it's so well crafted. But go ahead and I got my notes here. All right, let's pull this up. Borderlands. Now I know it's getting its own movie, live action movie, and some of these can be animated, some can just be live action, depending on like the budget that can come with it. But I think mostly, animated is probably be like ideal, depending on the scale it might require to do certain feats that real people cannot do. But like I said, I know there's a movie, but and it's probably gonna be multiple movies and like probably like a future franchise, depending on how well this does. And I'm looking forward to it. But I think Borderlands should be more so geared towards like a TV series, because there's so much lore uh seeded into this, has been built over the past few decades, like with Handsome Jack and like his rise to power, Pandora, and then even spoilers by the way for Borderlands 3, you dealing with like aliens. It's like sci-fi mixed with Mad Max. You got like a bit of like sci-fi mixed with Mad Max, and even the old western aesthetic to it. And even the DLCs have their fair bit, like Bounty for Blood DLC for Borderlands 3. It's like its own little western, because this is a own little western town, not even on Pandora, because it's like several different planets, and Pandora is just being one of them. It's its own solar system, and you can easily travel between these planets that has their own ecosystem and own group of people that you met throughout the Borderlands series. And of course you got all these awesome guns, crazy guns that do all these crazy things, and you got a plethora of awesome characters from the Borderlands franchise: Roland, Tiny Tina, the Psychos, Lilith, Athena, Handsome Jack, the Calypso twins, Zero, one of my favorites, Zane, like just plenty, Claptrap. And I was like, how much comedic gold you get off a Claptrap alone? But it's just like each Borderlands game has like a group of 4 people and then you usually choose to play, pick from to play. But it's like, let's say, well, since the pre-sequel, you can easily do like 4 seasons, depending on other circumstances. I can see definitely 4 seasons of this, if not on Netflix, because it is kind of like it can get pretty bloody if it wants to, and the silliness involving it is just crazy over top fun. And it's like you go through like the rise of Handsome Jack for 1 season that leads into the 2nd season with Roland and his team and Lilith. Then in the 3rd season you get like Zero and what was that guy's name in the Borderlands 2? The crap. Look this up really quick. Blanking. Axton as the commando. Maya, Siren. Maya got like a heck of an arc in Borderlands 3. Zero the Assassin is fun. You got like a character who's pretty much like Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe, that only, instead of not talking, he speaks only in haikus. Salvador the Gunzerker. Like I've seen gameplays of him. He looks fun as hell. But Axton, you get like because I'm pretty sure Axton is bisexual. Yeah, because if I'm recalling right, because I remember like an audio tape or some kind of document from one of the games mentions that he's bisexual. You get like a leader in Borderlands 2, the group of mercenaries in Borderlands 2 as a bisexual male. You know how much that was probably speak to the LGBT plus community. The fact that you got like a male lead that's like one of their own, and like just being like a overall badass. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like Borderlands definitely deserved his own TV show. Like I mentioned this many times as I played through this game, because I never played the very first Borderlands. Is the one Borderlands game I did not play. And I didn't play the Telltale version because I really don't like Telltale stuff, other than maybe Batman, but even then it's kind of close. I'm not feeling it, the whole button prompts and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely deserves a TV show. It's awesome. You got Destiny 2, another cool sci-fi element. You got like, if you want somebody to do like a Star Wars thing, Destiny overall comes very close. I mean, you ever play through or at least watch a walkthrough of Destiny? You got humanity. You can tell go over like a narrative, like the guy who because he's one of the voices. He's in like almost everything. But you ever watch the John Wick movies? The clerk, the black guy, the clerk. He's one of the voices of one of the 3 different types of warrior class characters you choose from. You got hunters, warlocks, which I usually play as, and then you got the titans, which is more like knight-like, strong, powerhouses, which he voices one of those leaders of that faction. But he can easily be the narrator for a lot of this stuff. You can tell like ample amount of seasons, because for the most part when you start playing this, you don't get to see the face of your character. So generally speaking, you can cast anybody to play any one of these, because you don't even have to follow one single person. You can have like like a motley crew of a core cast of characters similar to like Buffy or something like that. Or you can like follow like a group here for 1 season, then move on to another season with a different group of people. It's kind of like, it could be like a sci-fi Game of Thrones kind of situation, because you got like different alien races with their own little backgrounds and stuff like that. And you're dealing with, like, all these overarching uh like evils or adversaries that come down, like, and threaten out, might be just you or the whole galaxy, with all different kind of races, like this shadowy, uh I forgot the name of it. It's been so many years, but it kind of like takes over, kind of like a symbiote, that is like, all this blackish, thing that, takes over, a particular uh uh uh, uh race of aliens, or even you sometimes. But it's just that, the way the, overarching story of the entire franchise is that humanity, this traveler, this big, almost globe like thing, descended out of nowhere, helped somehow, because it's been a while since I heard the story, but pretty much the, long story of it, this traveler helps humanity progress into traveling better throughout the solar system, advancing them to a point where, for most humanity, don't necessarily die. They got these ghosts, like, AI type of, it's like Siri, but can float and talk with you like an actual person, instead of like verbally, answers whatever generic question. Is actually got personality, and it helps bring you back to life if you somehow perish. It's like, what kind of uh civilization you can imagine, what kind of stories you can, get off of, like, psychologically, like, what, like, the stories you can tell, like, what it does to a person psychologically, or a society psychologically, that they kind of did away with death in a way. And so maybe, humanity became a little more brazen in their fight to explore. These are, like, essentially explorers, but they have cool weapons that do all these kind of special things. And, like, all these factions that like different kind of religions, like, that's involved in here too. It's like one of them's like like one like a machine, and another is like I'm blanking on this. Is a faction. Okay, yeah. There's these different factions, pretty much like a cult, or different belief systems that's there now. You can say, like, in this, universe, in this TV series, that, the idea of Christianity or Buddhism and all the other stuff, it's kind of eventually got done away with and kind of replaced with these factions called Dead Orbit. Their philosophy: the traveler is not only our salvation, is not our only salvation. Another future is light out among the light of other stars. It's like a survivalist faction, which the faction I chose when I first played this game, that believes that humanity's future lies not on Earth with the traveler, but in a great diaspora throughout the universe. They hope that by colonizing as many worlds beyond the solar system as possible, humanity will become too innumerable for another disaster like the collapse to break, or any enemy like the darkness to just extinguish it. Or you got like a future war cult led by some kind of robot. There's no future but now, no truth but war. Future war cult is a fatalistic faction that believes conflict is the quintessential nature of the universe and the inescapable end state of most, if not all, possible realities. So just all out fighting. That's, their philosophy. It's kind of like, you know, the philosophy of something like Ares, the god of war, or something. Then you got New Monarchy. Their philosophy: hope will be born from the collective triumphs of the king in us all. They believe New Monarchy is a monarchist faction that believes humanity should strive to restore the lost glory and order of the Golden Age, and that the ideal way to achieve that is by uniting the last city under a single benevolent ruler invested with absolute authority. Kind of like what they did with Caesar, back in the day. But you know how that turned out. But I'm just saying, like, you got like like Star Wars 2.0 right here at your fingertips. It could be a movie too, but I think there's so much to tell. I don't think you can squeeze it in for like 1.5 to 2 hour movie. And how many movies in this franchise can you make? It's not like MCU or even the DC universe, but and then all these fantastical aliens that's involved in this universe. I think this warrants, because the way the style they have right now is pretty cool. I mean, you could do live action, but you gotta limit the budget on certain aliens that you have to fight. One's robotic aliens. I mean, it's not like you can't do it. It's possible, but I, think personally, this, like Borderlands, kind of fit in the mold of more so animated format. That way you can do any crazy thing you want to, but it's not impossible to do with live action. This is the big daddy of them all. I think this definitely deserves a TV show, like at least maybe not even just Final Fantasy VII, but I think that's the big dog. And like to this day, Final Fantasy VII is easily revered as one of the best video games ever designed. Even Final Fantasy VII Remake, it did so well because like it's so much. When you play, you can tell. I just told my friends this like the other day. You can tell games like this, the blood, sweat, and tears that was involved in them designing, like the graphics, the gameplay, and the narrative. They took their time with this. This is why it probably took so long just to get it out, because everything they put into this, it is glorious. And just looking at everything, with the art and the landscape and the background, everything is just breathtaking. And once again, you can do this live action if you want to, but you can, like I seen like this video a couple weeks back of people designing, like Forge Masters, I think, designing classic pop culture like video games or animated type of weapons. They designed Cloud's Buster Sword, but that thing is so humongous, and it took one person cannot lift that thing unless you're like The Rock or Jason Momoa, like just jacked to all hell. I don't think any other normal person can lift that thing. It usually take 2 people to lift that, but you can like try to like do CGI it just to make it. You don't have to obviously make it a real sword, but you probably have to easily CGI that thing just to bring it to life in some faction. But man, and the music and the score involved will just be tremendous. Like Final Fantasy, like it is, even like it's like, well, technically it's 16 Final Fantasy games. The 16th one is currently in, at the time of this video, in production. It's still being made. It's obviously not finished yet. You probably won't see anything of it until maybe late next year in 2022. But I think easily Final Fantasy 7. No, I mean, like, not even just 7, like I said, do 1 on 10. I mean, matter of fact, just like Castlevania, because, you know, Castlevania finished up Trevor Belmont's story, and that was in 4 seasons. Third one was still good, but not as like great as the other seasons were. But you can easily do like, since like technically 16 Final Fantasy games, you can easily do maybe 3 or 4 seasons each one with a different group of people trying to deal with their own bad guy. I mean, can you imagine the you can rake in MCU numbers if you make like an entire franchise, the FF7 universe. Not FF7, but just the Final Fantasy universe. You can build like a Final Fantasy universe. Maybe not well, you can probably easily do either way, movie or a TV show. Because if you do like a movies, you can make like a you know, 16 movies based off of each game. But like I said, so much involved in each of these games that it's hard to squeeze in for even 2-hour marker. Because if you're doing like a movie format, maybe each of these games deserve maybe 2 or 3 movies between between them all, which it's not unfeasible, but it's like, would you? Well, you can easily make a TV show out of these things and squeeze in, definitely, because TV shows gives developers, or at least the head honchos behind the TV series, enough time to lay out the groundwork and delve into, like, you got Yuffie, you can, you know, spend like an episode or 2 getting into her little arc and her background, and you can easily care about these characters. You are granted the time, and that's the thing, you are granted the time to be involved in these characters' lives, where it doesn't feel like it's being condensed just to get to the point kind of situation. You can, like, you know, have your cake and eat it too. And there's another one I mentioned just the other day, Fire Emblem. Just like Final Fantasy 7 or Final Fantasy in general, Fire Emblem been around for years. There are, you know, several different installments, and you can easily do, like, you know, different seasons, because they're pretty much like Game of Thrones. Fire Emblem, only they're a little bit extra with you got like sorcerer, like Fire Emblem is pretty much, yeah, Game of Thrones mixed with like Lord of the Rings in a way. You got like sorcery, dragons, people riding dragons, not just one woman. You got, like, you know people like archers or lancers on top of dragons, or even Pegasus or Pegasi, and fight on the battlefield with each different kind of conflict. Like, you can easily make this like well, I'm about to say, like, you can make this like a passage of time. It's like I don't know where like Final Fantasy, Fire Emblem Three Houses fit in the overall narrative of Fire Emblem in general, because they each have their own different, like, because like they got a god called Sophis in Fire Emblem Three Houses. I don't think Sophis was ever mentioned in previous Fire Emblem games before, so I doubt this is like a continuation kind of situation. So you can make it all one continuation of time, whereas like the first Fire Emblem game can start off with season 1 of that, and I mean season 1 or 2 of that, or just like I said with Castlevania, you can make at least 3 or 4 seasons of one particular game. then move on to 3 or 4 seasons of the sequel to said game, and then eventually you go into like Fire Emblem Three Houses and do 3 or 4 seasons of that, because there's so much involved. It's too much to make into a movie, and I think like Fire Emblem is definitely a contender for like a great TV show. Ghost of Tsushima, man, you talking about like a great, great game. You got Jin Sakai, and like an awesome character on his own, and then his story with his uncle trying to fight the Mongolians, the people he meets along the way. You can definitely make this like at least 3 4 seasons of this bare minimum, because there's only like 3 acts I think in Ghost of Tsushima. But it's like I definitely want something that's, like I mentioned this multiple times before, we need to start telling stories that have nothing to do with like Greek or medieval Europe societies. There's other stuff that can warrant like their own thing to focus on, their own pantheon of gods and stories and warriors and like, you know, friends and loved ones and future like relationships and stuff like that. Ghost of Tsushima can like definitely break that mold. Well, it's not breaking the mold. I mean, we've been telling like cool Japanese stories even for many years, but I think this brings that all together. It's like every love letter to like, you know, Seven Samurai, or even like just any uh what was that director's name who did Seven Samurai? Kurosawa. Because you even got a Kurosawa mode in this game where you can choose to be all black and white, speaking in Japanese only. I mean, it's like every love letter, and like you can tell like people love their Japanese movies, and they like put it all together to make this epic game. And the story, the narrative is so pitch perfect. I'm pretty sure there's some cons in this. Oh yeah, I remember one con that stuck out for me is that they wasn't clear on certain directions what needs to be done. Like you, like they ask you to, you know, go to a particular area to pick a particular group of flowers or something, and they give you some generic directions. It's like you find yourself wandering around. Like eventually they give you help, and they, once you take it too long, they point you, and the camera points to the general direction, but that still doesn't help much. You sometimes end up circling around like a mountain a couple of times before you eventually get it. That like I've found like that was like irritating, that you know wasn't getting the exact specific help, you're just getting some generic help. But other than that, I mean, like the narrative is phenomenal. You got like love, well, I don't know about love, he doesn't have like a legit, I mean technically I would call her a love interest. Yurio, was it Yurio or Yuria? This ninja lady that could easily, it wasn't specified, but you can easily see by the end of the game how it would lead into something, the way they've been through everything. So you got like love, betrayal, and war, and like, you know, family. It's like it's so much involved in this. And like, you know, I can tell you how much I was so involved in this game when I was doing the walkthrough of it. Only wish that I had like the proper audio setup, at least the knowledge I have now with audio setup that I did not have back then. I'm not gonna go through the whole entire game again, just to, because after I did what's the last game, like, you know, Devil May Cry 5, because I did that over again, and Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, I did that over again with better audio quality. But after that point, I was like, I'm not redoing previous games over again just because I have better audio quality. I'm just going to let the others be where they are and then move forward, with the better stuff now. But yeah, I gotta honestly say, I mean, people, like I already mentioned this with my commenters, many times. Ghost of Tsushima and Final Fantasy VII Remake definitely are the only two. Well, Hades the game, of course, them and Last of Us Part 2 are all nominated for Game of the Year in 2020, and Last of Us Part 2 won out. And like, the one argument I hear, I remember watching the Game Informer podcast about it when after the week after the Game Awards show was over. One person mentions that if they got you talking about the game, doesn't that mean it's something to it? Like, no, it does not equate to like just because you're talking about it. I hate the whole concept of no news is good news. I mean, I know it's like all all press is good press. Like, no, it's like the game left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. I mean, if you dug it, that's fine. That's good on you. I'm glad you got some enjoyment out of it. But I never played, of course, like any Last of Us games. I watched the walkthroughs, the people's stuff, because the narrative, at least the first one, the narrative was pretty damn good. And by that point, I was like fatigued with whole zombie crap. And it's like it was being like, for ironically overrun with zombie crap. And I was already bored on top of it, but I like the dynamic between Joel and Ellie. But what they did to that, I already made a video about like all like video game deaths and their meaning. You can check that out on my Patreon, www.patreon.com/talkingtocarl, or hey Daniel, or you can watch my YouTube channel and me talking about it. But it's like that, Joel death does not equate to, oh, they got you talking about it, it's gotta be great. It's like something to like, no. Ghost of Tsushima and Final Fantasy VII Remake hit all the check marks of gameplay, narrative, and design. They hit all the marks. If one mark is not hit, which in The Last of Us Part 2's case is the narrative, because it was doing fine up to the point of Joel's death. We all knew he was going to die in the second one. That wasn't the problem. It was the fact that the way he died sucked balls. But I'm not going to hash into that. But I think like Ghost of Tsushima definitely deserves its own TV show. It's like so much involved. There's so much you can do with bringing back like the samurai Kurosawa movies or TV shows. Because it's so much involved in this. It's like, whoever like you got, involved into the game's narrative, bring it over to like a TV show spot so they can like just emulate that or put it into the same role as Ghost of Tsushima. You don't have to be Jin Sakai's story retold again. You can just have Jin Sakai, maybe a year or two after the events of Ghost of Tsushima, and because they're supposed to be making a Ghost of Tsushima 2. That's what I heard. I'm only 80% sure that is actually accurate. But if they do make a Ghost of Tsushima 2, which is probably more than likely, if they make a TV show out of this, it can be set in between the events of 1 and 2, where like, Jin Sakai might be, training an apprentice on his own as a Ronin, and in that student is on their little adventure in this same world as Ghost of Tsushima. It's still fighting off some scattered Mongols. That's that can easily be fit. Hades game. Now, I know I mentioned like we've been retelling like medieval Europe stuff and Greek stuff, for decades, constantly like regurgitating the same stuff. But Hades, the game, was like legit fun, even though I didn't make it to the end. Every once in a while, just, I mean, like, it's like the way they have the Dark Souls set up. Like, I don't like that kind of gameplay style where you lose everything and you can't save and you gotta go back. Usually don't like that kind of stuff, but for some reason, I cannot explain it, Hades makes it all right. I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. It's just somehow fun just to fool around, just fight through crap. It doesn't even matter about the goal, which is weird for me to say, because like I usually want to get to the end. I like making sure like I get to a certain point where I feel a sense of completion. But this one is like, it's like the way I play Uno on my game console, or playing Overwatch. It's just like I just want to just, you know, chill out and just have some fun. And this, I think Hades fit that bill. But you got another retelling of like a Greek story where you're not dealing with like Hercules or Zeus and the Olympians in their like a main focus. You're dealing with Hades with his son being the main focus, and Hades, Zagreus and his adventure trying to get out of hell. And it's like reversed Dante's Inferno. And I think, you know, this definitely deserves like 3 or 4 seasons on Netflix. As a matter of fact, kind of fit the mold for Netflix with the Castlevania kind of stuff. I mean, like, and the art style. I mean, you could keep like the same like in the animated format, because that way you can do all kinds of wild stuff, just similar to like even like Blood of Zeus that's on Netflix. It was a very good TV show. They did a couple of seasons of that. You can usually do that same style, get those same people involved to make this. So no one goes. Yeah, I'm just talking about, yeah, dang, I'm just talking about like games that I think deserve their own TV show, because there's so much that was done and the lore involved in them. It's like, I think it'll be like an awesome TV, like a new TV shows. And they want to make brand new TV shows for people to watch in the same way they made like Castlevania, like just like a banger of a show. They can do that exact same blueprint for these games that I'm listing here. And these are my opinions and choices, but if you definitely have like, shout out your idea for a good TV show for a particular game that kind of would fit. Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn. You know, the story of Aloy, and like it's been a minute since we did like a unique apocalyptic world. Is not the same old thing. This is like a very unique thing, and that's what like I appreciate about this new IP. The fact that it's not like a generic Far Cry BS apocalypto, you know, stuff. This is like you're dealing with like robotic animals in like a post-apocalyptic future with a leading lady, and trying to uncover like this big grand mystery of like what happened to like the earlier settlers, or at least the modern day, and how we get here, and then like, you know, everything involved in like part 1 leading into part 2. It's so much world building that you can easily make a TV show from this. And it's like, I mean, of course you can also, this, unlike the other stuff like Borderlands that I mentioned, or Destiny, where like they already made so much stuff involved, whereas you can't fit in like a 2-hour movie and making it like in like, you know, multiple stuff, because it's so much. Horizon Zero Dawn only got like technically 2 games out of this. The second game's not finished yet, but you can make a TV show, or you can honestly make a movie from this, because it's like you only got this, you only got 2 prime examples to look up and research, so you can easily make a a different adventure with Aloy in like a movie format or a TV show format. I started to play recently, and let's say it works perfect. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, man, I love the character of Aloy. Like, maybe because like I fell in love with that classic white girl with braids. I don't know why, but she's kind of like a ginger. But it was like that Native American settler thing she got going on was working for me. It's like I love the excuse me, the strong woman thing. It's like I love that. Just like the go-getter woman, independent, and just straight up like a badass. It's like I love my tough badass women. Like I love women like that. But yeah, you can easily tell a story. I mean, I can see Amy Adams. Matter of fact, I see Amy Adams the way like the red hair, because I just only recently saw Amy Adams in a thing, and it's like, yeah, Amy Adams could easily play the role of Aloy. It's like you get like a natural redhead to play this woman. Because there's plenty of like awesome redheaded celebrity women. But I think like Amy Adams can easily fit because she got the same build, body wise, as Aloy. You don't need no generic big titty woman at all. It's like this is like a badass woman, smart and like got some sense of ingenuity and creativity. And it's like, you know, you got the next Wonder Woman, essentially, next Black Widow here, as far as like female icon. I want to put like a fighter game on here. I think Killer Instinct, the way like you got all these awesome different characters, like very different fighting styles and designs. It's like, because Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, they at one point had their own little TV show or animated movie. But I don't think Killer Instinct didn't really get their day in the sun as far as like as a like understood, respected fighting game. As far as like, I mean, it's mentioned, but it's not like the top tier kind of fighting game. I mean, even Darkstar is probably a little bit higher than even Killer Instinct as far as like one of the revered fighting games. Unless you're one of those hardcore fighting game guys that know their stuff, you will bring up Killer Instinct. But the general populace, they usually like bring up Street Fighter, Tekken, and Mortal Kombat, and maybe Darkstalkers if they grew up in that era. But Killer Instinct, here and there, you would bring it up. I mean, it's like it's a fan base, yeah, but it's just like isn't top tier. But just like these other games, it has their fair share of cool characters. You got TJ Combo, who's like a boxer from Chicago, who got this corporate conglomerate called Ultratech, who's pretty much evil Walmart, who's pretty much like got their iron grip on society in this universe. It's kind of like OCP and RoboCop, if I can give like a prime example. And they, he's a not failed boxer. He's a great boxer, but he's so he so wants to win and earn his title and the fame that comes with it and everything like that. He want to win at all costs, but he's not a bad guy. But it's just that he let that fame goes to his head, and he's like the pride of winning got to him, where the point where he went to like Ultratech, or at least Ultratech went to him, and they promised him more glory and all that stuff, and then implanted like cybernetics in his arms so he can constantly win his fights, until they told him one day, I want you to throw this fight against our new mechanical tech soldier called Fulgore. And TJ Combo, that's his name, did not throw the fight. They outed him. They broke the damn thing. This is like a prototype Fulgore. It's not like what you see on the screen. He demolished that prototype, they outed him. He lost all his titles, and then he literally ripped like the cybernetics out of his own arms to the point where it's like, you know, it healed, but you can see the scars from the you know, stuff that, you know, he ripped out, but it gave him like a minor healing factor and like a bit of like a kind of like a rage power up kind of thing, where it boosts his speed and strength slightly, and minor healing factor. But you also got like this Tibetan monk, Jago, who's pretty much like another version of Ryu from Street Fighter. And then he has like a sister or cousin who's in like the Secret Service or CIA or something like that. Black cult, and her name is Black Orchid. She uses like kind of like Nightwing stick, like, you know, Eskrima stick kind of thing, but hers is like yellow, and it's like it's kind of like almost like lightsabers the way it glows, and it's like and she beats people up, and then she throws like flash grenades and stuff. It's like it's so much involved in like Killer Instinct, where you got like Sadira, who's part of the Spider Ninja Clan, and then you got this vampirist lady, I forgot her name, who's like a rival clan of with the who actually are part of this like coven of vampires that fight Sadira's Spider Clan, and like, you know, constantly. And you got like a ghost woman, who's similar to like because it's like, you know, Killer Instinct characters are like allegories of different movies or other stuff that you might have seen through like the 80s and 90s that was pretty much like an allegory. And like this Hisako, I think her name is Hisako, this ghostly woman is kind of like The Grudge meets The Ring, because she looked like the ghostly woman from The Ring, where she comes out of the TV kind of situation. You got her with this like Naginata samurai weapon, killing people who's like, you know, soldiers from Ultratech who's pillaging her resting place in Japan, and she comes back from the dead to kill anybody involved. And it's like a big tournament like thing, but I don't know how you can make a tournament thing. You possibly could, but you got all these other fighters that's probably not so involved in this tournament, but they still fight on the side, you know, and you're dealing with that. And then Ultratech making their own little super weapons like Fulgore, but there's also making their own little Johnny Storm, where there's I forgot his name, but he's covered in fire. You know, when like, I don't know, cybernetics or genetic, I think it's genetic manipulation, but he's like he turns into like Johnny Storm, and he's like fights, you know, hand to hand, but he's like on fire, and he's, you know, fights with like, you know, fireballs and flamethrowers and stuff like that. But it's wild. I mean, you can easily make a solid story from this, because like you don't have to, because each one of them obviously got their own arcade endings, but you can make your own story. There's a freaking mummy in this, and like a golem. So it's like you can go freaking crazy if you want to. There's no limit here, because it's not like hardcore well, there is like a history to these characters, but it's flexible enough for it, like the whole tournament style, where you can just do what you want and no one won't really cry that much about it, as long as you don't mess with like these characters' backgrounds and what made them to that point excuse me, to be part of this tournament. You just reestablish like certain rivals and enemies and friends that, like, don't butcher that. But yeah, Killer Instinct can easily be like at least a couple of seasons, but like a season with like an episode or two or dedicated to each character, and see, you know, what, you know, you got them to be what they are, and what leading them to this particular tournament, and what's in what, you know, give them their reasons to be in there. like there's an enemy there and they gotta join into the tournament just to fight that enemy, you know, very Sub-Zero Scorpion rivalry kind of scenario, or trying to save somebody kind of situation, so they gotta join a tournament just to find this person. That can easily work, you know, just put some bit of creativity into, you know, making this. They don't half-ass it. Overwatch, I said this constantly, Overwatch definitely deserves a TV show, as seen in like these little clips, you know, throughout the time when Overwatch was being like advertised, you know, several years ago, when you got like a story of, you know, Tracer, who, you know, was who is a lesbian, another LGBTQ plus community member, like, you know, part as one of the main leaders, or at least one of the main cast members, who's like a fan favorite. You know, you see like her little clip story like on YouTube. You can easily look up a lot of these characters' YouTube clips, and you see the little mini stories involving all of them. And it's like, I don't know why they didn't, you know, take that idea and expanded it to build this world that they set up here. I mean, technically they did, but it's like I want to see in like a 30-minute episode format, whereas like an episode or a season dedicated to like a couple of, like Winston, the you know, smart gorilla, and Tracer have like a connection because her father was the scientist that raised Winston as a little baby monkey on the moon. This is like a futuristic type of world that, you know, for most of them, you know, still use like certain weapons that like a bow and arrow and a sword, but more futurized. But yeah, Overwatch is like awesome. Have like a plethora of awesome characters with very unique backgrounds. You got like a classic, you know, cowboy and cowgirl in the roster with Jesse McCree and Ash. I mean, and then you got like Overwatch, you know, fight in these you know, futuristic terrorist groups that try to assassinate different, you know, organizations, or trying to take over the world in some fashion. It's kind of like the way G.I. Joe's versus Cobra kind of scenario, but you can feel that kind of same mindset with Overwatch. It's kind of like a G.I. Joe 2.0 with Overwatch. You can easily build this up. I mean, you can also make this maybe like an animated movie, but I honestly think this is well worth it to make it a TV show with so many characters involved. And that's another thing why I bring this up, is like as a TV show option more so than even a movie, because there's so many characters. Now, unless you're thinking about like, if you're making an Overwatch movie, then you're definitely gonna have to make at least a dozen different movies. Like you know, of course, well, it's like a Tracer, her own solo movie, Winston his own solo movie, but and they dealing with different villains or anti-heroes. Like if you do Jesse McCree's center movie, make it a classic western built in the Overwatch universe, and he's duking it out with Ash, his once love interest, now kind of love interest slash enemy kind of thing, and they trying to you know, she's going out after a bounty, he's in a way trying to stop her, and he's still it's like the reverse Batman and Catwoman thing, where he's trying to flirt with her at the same time trying to stop her, while she is, you know, trying to hide the fact that she's still into him but trying to kill him at the same time. But and then you got like Hanzo and Genji, two brothers, one nearly killing the other, and that brother had to be in like a cybernetic ninja suit just to survive. And then they trying to, you know, and he's, you know, you can build the fact that, you know, Genji trying to like, you know, come to terms with what his new condition is as far as like being like a cybernetic, ninja now instead of a real man, and knowing that his brother put him in this position because they was fighting, because their father was a leader of this Yakuza organization kind of scenario. Genji not wanting to be a part of it, brother wants to be a part of it, is blah blah blah. But then they fight. One uses constantly a sword while the other using a bow and arrow, and they tussle. Then classic Cain and Abel stuff. And then Genji gotta spend like an arc trying to get past his anger and understand his current position and live with it kind of scenario, kind of like Cyborg in like the Teen Titans or Justice League movie, where it's like it takes him a while to come to terms with his current state as a cyborg. But you can easily get this like a multiple seasons. There's so many awesome characters. And you got Titanfall. The Titanfall universe, I think, is pretty solid. It doesn't have to be totally futuristic like Destiny is, but you can definitely use similar weapons that we have like in current day, but like put like a unique spin on it. Like there's like I still remember this particular pistol that is in Titanfall, where it's kind of like the movie Wanted, where it curves. It's like, I forgot how it works, but I remember if like, I don't know if you hold it down or you flip a switch, and it's like it the shot automatically recurves and tracks the enemy and shoots them, kind of thing. It's like little things like that. And then you got, of course, these Titans. Now you can still build on like the whole same concept of like warring factions, both having their own little Titan robots, yeah, that land a certain spot, and you fighting with these mechs. It's not like what's that movie with Idris Elba with his classic line, "We're canceling the apocalypse." I forgot that movie. You got like robots, not exactly like that, because like these Titans are like probably like half the size of those, but you're not fighting like monsters or anything. You're dealing like robots in like a human war, and you can make that war about, I forgot what the war is about in Titanfall universe, but you can easily look that up. But it's like you bring in like any different war movie that you've seen, like Saving Private Ryan or something like that, but just set it up in like actual techno future, like not too far off from our present day, but slightly in the future, like a tiptoe in the future too. With Titanfall, you can easily make this work. Don't know about the budget with these Titans will be if you're making this like a TV show format, but it can work in like a movie too. It's like I said, it's like with Horizon Zero Dawn, there's only 2 games out of this, so you can easily make like a diverge into like a different character and going through their own little story that happen to be in the Titanfall universe. But yeah, that's what I think as far as like I think that's all. Yeah, that's all. At least stuff that I wanted to bring out that I thought will be legit great TV shows. Because honestly, I don't know why nobody even brought this concept up at any point with Netflix or Amazon or Hulu, Disney Plus. I mean, you can easily make multiple seasons. That's why I bring up this TV shows, like I said before, because most of these that I listed should probably be animated with like so much stuff involved that wouldn't cut it with a CGI budget. But you can definitely see like dividends it will pay out, because Castlevania series laid out the groundwork for us. If you get competent people involved that probably love this, any one of these uh games, or even games that you might be thinking of right now, is like get them involved. The first season can easily be budgeted. You don't have to do nothing too crazy. Just get people's feet wet, and then second season go full tilt, because now you have the clout to make it as grand as you want it to be. But like, let me hear your thoughts on like what games that you might think and might be thinking this definitely deserves their own TV series. Like maybe not long running, maybe like at least 3 or 4 seasons of a particular game, a TV show based off a video game. So yeah, follow me on twitch.tv/talkativecarl. Subscribe to my channels, youtube.com/talkativecarl. 9 subscribers away from making to 100 goal. Once I make it, I will do like a live stream of me doing the 1 chip challenge for you guys. And follow me on Twitter. That's Talkative Carl, at Talkative Carl on Twitter. And then of course my Patreon. Become a Patreon member, www.patreon.com/talkativecarl. If you have an idea for a particular review that you think, like a movie that you want me to review, or a particular season of a show or something like that, check out the Patreon, see which tier that there's only 3 tiers. Check which one that you might think will fit your budget. It's not that really expensive, but yeah, I will see you guys soon. This Friday I will be going over another movie, and I will talk about my season 3 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. The different arcs involving that. I'm almost done with the binge watch, so this coming Friday I will be talking about that. And tomorrow I will be doing episode 3 of the Loki series review, spoiler review, and what I thought about that episode. Almost forgot about that. It was because I'm thinking about so many other things. So yeah, should be wrapping up Fire Emblem. Speaking of the game, I should be wrapping it up pretty soon. So once that is done, next week I will be spending time making like a large Yu-Gi-Oh! Game videos. So look forward to those. So thank you all for coming by. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and my Patreon. So take care, and I'll see you guys soon.